can embrace, you know what the beauty of it is though? We can embrace our hair now, because that was something that was also part of having to be a chameleon as an artist, because our hair was not something that was considered commercial enough. Yep. Do you know what I mean? Like, I come from that, so it's like,
that's great. Let's dive right into that. Like you coming up in this whole world now with the hair. Like now, curly is in the hair that you guys have. That's what's in. Everybody wants it. Now, before it was like they used to call it a mop. No, but the Dominican culture, when they did the slang, when they used to call it for the hair,
una escoba,
o grifa. Brillo. Yeah, my mother used to iron my hair. I mean, oh my God, the things that we had to go through. She would put a towel down and iron our hair, and then
I used to hear about that.
When they had the relaxers, man.
Oh, that's what I had.
That killed it. Yeah. Because it was basically lye in your hair. And it just to be able to fit a certain look that to me was so it was so unrealistic and unattainable, but we didn't know any better. That we were kids. We did what we were told, you know? So like I said, you know, when I look at her and we're talking about hair and we could find out twisties and ways and we're in, like everybody stops me all the time. My husband's like, why are they always talking to you? I said, because come on. Come on. I'm in finally. Come on. Gotta give me a break here.
Finally.
All those washer sets and deep conditioning is paying off.
It's paying off, because all the time that I would get a job, they would say, oh, well, we need you to straighten your hair out. Can we lighten your hair up? Can you, you know, it was always altering. Tame it, always altering all the time. Any project, it was always about altering the look. You know what I mean? Or altering the hair. So, you know, it's nice to be in a situation where all of us, hablando Spanglish, que si hablamos half in English and half Spanish, todo eso, lo que están hablando ustedes, I love it, because it's great to be at this point now, even though, you know, we're at home and we're sheltering in place, but I think it's giving us an opportunity to really dive more into our culture and to accept all of who we are. And, you know, when I see other young ladies and then like they ask about their hair, that's a big deal. Cause that, you know, it's a big deal, especially like I said, we're like, for me, I have that African kind of, I'm a mix. I'm like you. Because mi papá es blanquito, puertorriqueño, mi mamá negrita, so I'm mocha in the middle, you know. In the wintertime, I get like the color of my hair that you can't even see me, you know. But in the summertime, then the wintertime, then my skin gets very fair, and my hair is what it is, and it was I remember that being iconic especially with Dominican parents, like a Dominican mother that. Comb, that hot comb.
Make sure your hair was
pressed, okay, and blown out, and blow it out. I'm like, I don't do none of that.
I used to do the rolo,
the rolos, the blowing out.
Oh my goodness!
All of that.
How did that affect your career in the beginning and the struggles of like you learning to accept yourself, you know, and learn more about yourself, and also embrace these great qualities that they don't in the world, they don't see it as qualities just as yet. They're just like, well, we like your talents, but there's other stuff that you bring with it, this flair. You know, we want to change it up. How much of that was a struggle for you in the beginning to find a place of comfort of like, well, let me play the game or let me meet them halfway so I'm not losing myself all the way out of this gig?
Yeah, I mean, I have an unusual story in the sense that I knew very young that what I wanted to do. And my parents, especially my mom, was preparing me for a world that was not ready for someone that looked like me, because I didn't look Latina and I didn't look African American. I'm in this in between kind of gray area. And I knew really young what I wanted to do. Like I was a real go-getter. I started working when I was 12, and I told my mother, I said, you know, Mom, since you can't give me money for dance class, I'm working. My summer job. I said, I need to go work. And I did. And I gave her my money. I said, I'm going to go take dance class. And I would go and do that. And then when I got old enough, you know, the deal is that I would have to stay in school and then I would do this part-time. So when I got old enough to start auditioning, I didn't even get a chance to audition because I was being typed out. You know, I wasn't tall enough. I wasn't dark enough. I wasn't white enough. White or Latina was considered like the, like Natalie Wood, who played in West Side Story, who was not Latina. That was considered a Latina. Do you know what I mean? That was considered Latina. That was what the principle was. And then someone like Anita was considered like right off the boat, kind of Indian. If you look at her features, right? You look at somebody like me, they would look at me like, where are you from? Like, your name is what? They couldn't quite know. So I had to develop a persona, and I had to develop a sense of knowing that I had to pave my way. And so I started to embrace my culture and the culture that I was brought up in. I mean, I was, from Brooklyn, right? Yeah. So, in the streets, you're listening to the music that's out there. So, the dance music was like a big deal. So I became like, I wanted to be the best dancers of all the best. I said, if I could be the best known throughout all the boroughs, that's going to get me in. Started to do that. But little by little, between school and being adopted by my street family, that I call them, and being able to navigate how to get in, I had to break down a lot of doors. And I said, once I get in there, man, I'm gonna change stuff, because you can't be looked over that much. And that's what I was talking about today, actually earlier, with some students that I'm working with, and I was sharing with them that, listen, it's up to you to create your own pathway. You have to create your own path. There's no such thing as somebody just opening up the door, especially if you're a person that they can't quite put you in a box. Because if you don't check off that box that they're looking for, now these new boxes that are being created are going to even be harder to navigate. Because before it was black, white, and then other. Yeah. That's right. Remember when we were just other? Then they went black.
Before that, it was just white, and white.
White. Right. Before that. Exactly, right? And then we came, after the other came, then Hispanic. And then after that, we still have now all these other boxes. If you look at it, all these other boxes that we have to check. Do you identify yourself as a Black Latina, as a, Hispanic? I mean, Native all these American. Things that we would have, do you know what I mean? So could you imagine, like, I was like, okay, I think it was harder and easier, but at the same time, it gave me that oomph to say, I'll be back. You know what? There's going to come a time where you're not going to type me out. You're not going to, because I'm going to go work my ass off and be the best of the best, that you're going to have to ask me my name. And that's what ended up happening. I would outdance anybody. They would say, what's your name? I said, Maria Torres. And where are you from? I said, Brooklyn, New York. Do you know what I mean? And that's how I started to really develop a career for myself, between dancing and compete in competitions, and then getting to have everybody know me, working with other choreographers when people will call me in. I paid my dues to be able to earn the right to be in the rooms. And once I got in the rooms, I said, you ain't kicking me out, because I'm going to pave the way for the next generation of Latinos. And I created Latin Jazz, which is what you're talking about. When you are Latin Heat was part of my directorial debut, to put a stamp on what I had been saying all along since I was that young little girl. That little kid that was told that she wasn't going to make it was always on my shoulder. And I said, anywhere that I can go and represent as a Latina, knowing that I'm going to be put in a box, who cares? Because by the time that they realize that my resume is going to be kicking their ass anyway, who cares? Because by the time they figure it out, they're going to be like, who is this person? Because I didn't have time to explain of what my parents taught me. You become valuable by being the best of what you can be. And if it means you being in the industry, look at when my mom, she didn't want me to do it. She goes, Maria Mercedes, she would say, si tú quieres ser un artista, tú tienes que saber que es una vida fuerte, es una vida bien dura. Y tú tienes que hacer la mejor de las mejores, porque te van a mirar a ti, tú eres chiquita y no van a saber qué es lo que van a hacer contigo. Pero si tú es claramente la mejor, ellos van a encontrar un sitio para ti. That never left me. Never left me. So that was my whole thing. I competed with myself every day to be better than the day before. And that knowing that once I got there, I would be a change maker, not by saying or by being, being negative, but by example of being the best of the best in what I was doing and paving the way for those coming behind me. And that's what I've been doing for a long time. It took I had to take a while.
Right.
Like I did it as a young kid where I got to where, winning competitions, getting my mentors to help me because I didn't have money, right? So it wasn't like I could afford to have an extensive, learning stuff. Everything that ended up happening was I met really great mentors along the way that took me in and took me under their wing and helped me. And when I met my husband is when I actually really blossomed because I had gotten to a point where I wanted to just do it part-time and leave the business. When I met him, I was like, I don't want to do this full-time. It's not for me. These people are too much because of the things that we're talking about. One was if I was getting typed out, the other way that I would get in is if I was doing the couch auditioning.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and I wasn't willing to do that. I had too much integrity. I was taught not to do that. And I said, I don't want to be one of those people. When a lot of my friends who were very successful, and I won't name them, but they're very successful, and they were doing it, but I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
I just said, you know what? That's not going to be me. I'm going to figure it out. I don't know what that means, but you know what? It's going to be what it's going to be. And so by the time that I met my husband, I was sort of had a bad taste about it. But he had seen me perform and he said, you can't stop just because we're together. You're really talented. You got to give yourself that chance. You don't want to say, I wish I coulda, woulda.
Yeah.
You don't want to be one of those. Neither will I, as your husband, be part of that. You have to go back and you have to try and make it. What's the worst that can happen? They say no? Well, at least you could say you tried. And I don't know, it took about 3 years and then it clicked. And I said, are you sure? Because I'm not going to be home. I'm going to tell you, the go-getter that I am, I'm going to be working 250%. So you won't see me. I said, he goes, that's okay. I'm ready for it.
What was the change for you in that moment? Because me connecting your journey, you learned a lot from your mom, and then that helped you fuel you. And then just growing up in Brooklyn and that go-getter attitude and being a hustler and paving your way, and you were so motivated to prove to yourself that you are worthy and you have this talent. And then while doing it for you, others couldn't shy you away. And it was like, whoa, they saw this spark, right? So then you grinded it out, doing your thing, and then of course you're hitting these walls, these brick walls every time because it just happens in your career. And then you said something along the lines that, I wanted to do this part-time, right? So you was tired of dealing with that. And then you came back. And I look at this almost like a Rocky type thing, right? I love Rocky. So, you got too many damn punches in or whatever. And it's like, I did my thing. But what's the point now? I don't have that motivation to go back into that ring. So now here's your husband comes in. He motivates you. He tells you. But what happened in that moment now, right? Because someone could tell you, do it. But you had to find something in you to make it all click again and be that young, hungry girl again to go back out there. So what clicked for you? Well,
the thing is that, inevitably there was something about, just being an artist that was always there with me, and I was doing it part-time anyway, right? I think what clicked was that I finally had someone that was able to look at me, because I'm kind of going really fast in my career. I did have benchmarks in my career that were horrific. And also I think what clicked was that here is someone that I had only seen a glimpse of my talent, but yet he had so much confidence that I could do this. And he was telling me how great I was. Meanwhile, those who were my teachers, some of them that were my teachers, not all, because I had some mentors that were really great, but some of them that would just, would sit there with their, judgmental thing and said, and then that's what clicked. And he said, you can make it. And when you make it, you can actually be able to do whatever it is that you want. And in my head, it was, well, if I'm going to make it, I'm going to make it being with my maiden name, Latina, 100%. And I'm going to do it my way. And that's what clicked. So Rocky, I totally identify with Rocky because I told my husband, I said, I want my body to be snatched and fabulous. That when I take off my clothes, people gag. I said, because I was always told that I couldn't fit into a certain mold because at the age of 12, I looked like I was 18. I was always full figured. I was like a little Jessica Rabbit, but that for dance and for the performing arts, not acceptable. Yep. Strapping they would tape my boobs down, get rid of that ass. All these things that they tell me. Get rid of, can you change your nose? Can you change, your name? Can you change your hair? I had heard so much of that I have to tell you that he said, don't change a thing, but let's get you into the best. I said, well, I want to be ready to like compete in the like Miss Olympia fitness. Yeah. That's how I want to look. And so because he's a trainer and model guy that was, his body was physically fit, that's what we did. He trained me 6 days a week. And while he was doing that, I was taking classes so that I could get my stretch, my legs, my body, everything for the best of the best. And then started to compete again, coming back, like you said, where what clicked, because I wanted to prove to all those naysayers, you ain't gonna hold me back now. Especially now as a more, married woman, I'm ready for y'all. Let's bring it.
What did you learn about yourself the second time around? Because I will feel that, from the first time, because you're entering it now, and I would have assumed and imagined that you're wiser, you're better, you're stronger. Your husband is almost a replica of this unique, confident person on your side as the person on your corner in boxing, just like your mom was for you in the beginning. So now you have another layer again now where your husband is giving this fuel. Yeah. And now you're seeing it even more. So what did you learn about yourself now this second time around that it wasn't even about everybody else?
Well, the second time around, I was wiser and more mature, and I was doing it for me. I wasn't doing it to try to fit in the box that they were trying to put me in. See the difference? Yeah. The difference is that I had nothing to lose. Like he said, what do you have to lose? And when he said that, it sort of freed me to really go into this playground now and just go for it for whatever it is that I wanted to do. Whereas before, everybody was kind of like, we have to go do audition. We got to go do this. You got to get that. You have to get this. And so because
you were following someone else's.
Yeah. And following what everybody else was doing. Yeah. But I didn't have anybody outside of my parents, because my parents, at home is one thing, but in the streets, I had no one that was really in my corner that way. Yeah. Because the rivalry and the el egoísmo, the jealousy, all of that, you feel those vibes. You can't articulate it, but you can feel that. And that's sort of like, even if you want to succeed, sometimes people will sabotage you because they want to get in there first. That's the business. That's
mal de ojo.
Mal de ojo, right? And that was a part of the business my mother was talking to me about. It was like, listen, it's not pretty. You're a really sweet girl, and it's doggy dog. You're going to have to learn. And so I didn't know how to do that. But when I met my husband, he taught me how to throw shade not by verbally and by trying to punch it out, but by stepping out and being like a female Rocky. Yeah. Like showing up yourself. Undeniably, like the looking, feeling, and being the best that I can, like my game, top notch, no matter what. And that whether or not I got it was not the point. The fact that I had to work towards that. And when I actually was able to begin to see the results, and then started to remember all those naysayers, I went, this is not just for me. I'm doing this for everybody else that I'm going to be teaching and bringing along. This is not just for me. This is for my peeps. Oh, this is not just for me. This is from every single time that my mother said, can you make it? Don't forget where you came from. Always come back to where you came from and do what you got to do to maintain your heritage right there. That it clicked. It just clicked. And my husband's like, okay, if that's what you want to do, go for it. So then I had a real purpose of understanding what it was really young to know that I had to be a purposeful and take responsibility as an artist to have a real message. That's when then that's what clicked. Then I knew, oh, wow, this is not just about whatever. This is now, I got a message. I know what I got to do now. And I'm going to kick ass and take names, but I'm going to do it in a way that's opening up many doors, not just for me, but for those who will come behind me, because I know they're going to come. And that's what clicked. It really clicked, because he said, whatever you want. He goes, well, every time that I walk into a place, why am I the only one that's there? Or why am I the only one on either the left or the right? That's, well, it's like a quota thing. I don't want that to be that way. Why can we change that? Do you know what I'm saying?
How free? Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, in the second round, you were going through this and you were meeting things that you already did in the past. What was the most challenging thing that you had to overcome in the second round?
I think in the second round was being able to confront all those who I had encountered before, and re-enter that circuit and be able to then compete, because now I'm more mature. Compete, because that's what it is when every time you're auditioning is like a competition. So that was the most challenging thing. Can I really do this? And can I be in the game for real and be able to, work on film and work on television, work on Broadway and do the Radio City and really, be in the game in a place where it's going to mean something. That was the challenging. One thing is saying it at home and, working towards it. Another thing is achieving all of those things. Like I put my whole goal and then saying, I want to achieve this. How does that happen? I don't know the how, but I definitely knew what I wanted to do. And then going after that. That was challenging for me. Because now I had to put up and not only, you put up and shut up, but now I had to produce what I was saying, between my husband and I. So that part was very scary and challenging, your first directorial debut, I want to go back to that because you said this was something that, you also gave back to others. This was something that was very powerful for you. This was something that was representing a lot. It had a message. What sparked that idea and why was it so important to you to now step up to that plate? Because now you're giving back to a lot of others. This is your moment. You have the stage. Vision. This is your vision. This is like almost everything that you couldn't have worked hard for in that moment. What was the biggest takeaway for you during that whole journey? Well, I think the biggest takeaway was knowing that I was able to be part of something that was actually opening up opportunities for many Latinos, not just one, but many. Being able to see that come to fruition, because as a performer, I was always breaking ground. Like I said, I came in more mature, even on Broadway. I mean, I came back. I only did the Broadway only because I was called in to help create a role that would be representative of my culture. So I said, okay, I'll put my shoes back on for that. Because at that point I was already doing films and making bank, and I could have easily moved to LA and been, making a lot of money. Right. So but when I was at that crossroad, there I am working with Enrique Iglesias on Bailamos, and then to do the tour. And then they're offering me to work with Jennifer and with Christina and come to LA, and you're going to be famous and you're going to be rich. Right. And then I get offered to come and be part of a workshop that was going to Broadway that would be solely to develop a section that would be representative of my culture. What did I decide to do? That.
That's beautiful.
And I had to turn down the tour, and I said, well, I want to do two things. I'm going to do the video for Enrique because he needs to be on the map and I can help him. And that video is going to put him on the map. But then I want to fly back home and stick with my Broadway show. And that was Bailamos. He was just transferring, because at that point, what I was doing behind the scenes as a choreographer was helping like all the upcoming Latino artists, all of them, from the Latin freestyle, all of them, Carlos Ponce, Ricky Martin, all of them would come through me, because I was like, no, we are gonna, we gotta do this. That's how it was. I was like, so that. But then when when they called me to work for Enrique, and they said Enrique's got this, new album that he just he just signed a $40 million deal to Interscope, and his new song is awesome, but the video that they did is disgusting. We're gonna send it to you. And I looked at it and I went, oh God, it's pretty bad. I said, all right. So I don't know what to do because I'm in the middle of creating a Broadway show. We're doing a workshop, and I'm in it. Not only am I part of, participating and contributing choreography, but I'm in it. And this is really important because on the stage, what we call legit theater, as well as I know, that's a whole different other ball game that happens, right? So I had to negotiate. And I had to negotiate with Interscope and with the other choreographer that worked with me. I said, listen, if we work together, then this is what I could do. I could fly out and I'm going to make sure that looks everything like I envisioned in my head, but I got to fly back, because if I don't go back, I'm going to wind up not being able to be on the show. That's also very important. And so it started there already. You know what I mean? Like doing that, even with the Broadway show, was like, no, you guys don't know how to orchestrate for Latino music. Let me bring in some albums the next day. Here's some CDs. Y'all work on this and play it. Because if I'm going to come out here 8 shows a week, I need to be feeling that. And then Harold Wheeler, who was the orchestrator, he said, Maria, don't worry about it. We're going to get everything that you want. I started to be able to now vocalize and verbalize and crystallize what I wanted to see. And that,
you got that chair, you got that part, your seat at the table.
Yeah. Started to do it. Mm-hmm. And I knew that there wasn't anybody else at the time that had the goods to be able to deliver it. And I knew that I could, and I wanted to do it, but do it in a way that was also empowering others. Yeah. That was my thing. It was just not about me, but how can I empower that next, that tour that's going to come behind me, that next Latina that's going to have to step into my shoes. We got to like set it up right. So that was when I started. And then 4 Guys Named Jose, an off-Broadway show. While I was performing, because I was crazy, busy, I was developing an off-Broadway show right up the street from the 8 shows a week where I would be performing, because I wanted that to be successful. And it was important to not only say it, but what are you going to do to actually get proper representation out there? So that's what I was doing. And so for me, Latin Heat was the combination of being in the director's seat, not just a choreographer, but now in the director's seat, and being part of the creative team that can actually pay an homage to our people. Yeah.
And also on a deeper level, you was also tested, but you wasn't tested in many like negative ways. It was like everything. It was like the lesson your mom said, you're going to make it, you're going to work hard, people are going to notice you and you're going to make it, but don't forget where you came from. Right. Yeah. So now everything that you wish for as a little girl and everything, you work hard, money will always come. But here you are now getting tested. You're having opportunities, multiple opportunities. An opportunity where you could be like, well, let me go chase the money and fame and be around all these stars. Yeah. You decided, well, that sounds nice, but how can I make this work for me? Yeah. Where the project that you really was passionate about still made it work, and help the other project that also putting Latinos out there as well and helping that wave. I just want to thank you for doing that, because honestly, that speaks a lot about your character, and it's beautiful to still witness that from people, because as you know, in this industry, there's a lot of fakeness and there's a lot of negativity, and there's not a lot of people you can trust. But through your actions in that journey, what you shared, that showed a lot of what this is. You're a true artist and a woman of your word to say, I want to represent, I want to help out others, and I also want to live my dream as well, without sacrificing anything or
for myself.
Not sacrificing anything on myself, and being something
or
I'm
your
not,
culture,
or selling myself out. And that speaks volumes. That's great.
Yeah.
And thank you for doing that.
Yeah. And that's what the challenge is, because, I even spoke to my husband. I said, well, listen, I have an opportunity to go LA and stay out there or do the Broadway show. He goes, what do you want to do? I said, well, I want to do both. He goes, well, are you able to do that? And I said, yeah, but that means that, the other part of it is going to have to let it go. And this is during the Latin explosion. So, and I remember that everything that was about, the Broadway show came out, I'm in it. And every People Magazine, Daily News, the Post, the New York Times, it was like crazy. All the media, they will always have to send me out. And the question that they kept asking me, well, what do you think about the Latin explosion? And I said, what explosion? You know what the explosion is? And then you finally clued in to the fact that we're here. I know.
Finally heard the fucking bomb that's been happening.
I was like, what are you talking about explosion? I said, the explosion is that you guys are cluing in to the fact that we've been here.
Yeah, we've been here for a long
time. I said, did you hear what Ricky said? It took him 20 years to become an overnight sensation. I said, it's been no different for me.
I can show you multiple bombs that blew up over the years. Let's come take a visit.
Come take a visit. You know what I'm saying? It was more of that. And it was good to be in a place where you can actually say it, because again, like the way that the industry works, if you don't make it, you're not able to really have the platform to be able to say those things. Like, I was a Latina when it wasn't in vogue to be Latina. Do you see what I mean? When everybody else was running away from it, I didn't want to change my name. I said, my name is Maria Torres. Don't get it twisted. Do not call me Maria Torres. Call me by my Latin name, Maria Torres. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how it was. Latin jazz.
And then there was like, oh, she's too difficult to work with. We need somebody else.
That was the name. That was the name. Exactly. And Latin jazz, they said, well, why are you calling it Latin jazz? You're locking us to, because that's what I want to teach. Because I want every Latino young kid and then some to know that there's a class that they can come into performing arts and not feel scared and feel welcomed, and then allow them to dream like I dreamt. That's why I'm doing this class. Because when I came into the performing arts school, there was nothing representing our culture. That's why I chose to do that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I did, because I'm a woman, right? Latina. That was the thing that also was put on me, difficult.
Yeah.
Only because I was assertive and clear about where I wanted to go. I was very clear. Once I understood the power of what it takes to make it, there was no holds bar for me. It doesn't mean that it was easy. A lot more challenges came, because along with that came the fact that I was considered to be someone difficult to work with. And if I was gay and white, or just gay, male, it would be okay. But because I was a female drag queen with a lot of attitude, I was difficult. Do you know what I mean? I was larger than life. And I said, oh, so there's more problems. Okay, I could deal with you guys, because you're like the people that I grew up with that all told me no. Oh, no, I got you. But I'm not going to worry about it. You're not important right now. What's important is for me to stay on this road and on this journey of ensuring that I can continue to represent, continue to uplift, and wherever that leads me, it will lead me. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to stop because you guys think that we're in vogue for now and it's going to be a passing thing. It's not going to be a passing thing. It's only the beginning. That's the way I saw that. Yeah. So that's what fueled me and kept me going, you know?
What were some lessons you learned now teaching the younger generation? I would imagine it's like you staring in a mirror, like looking at your younger selves. How fulfilling was that for you? And what were some lessons that you learn now giving back to others, and I would assume too, learning from them too?
Yeah. Well, I think what's happening right now is with the uprising that happened, in 2020 and through the summer, it was almost like I got the flashbacks of when I was a kid, of all the stuff that happened. So what's happening now is for them to really navigate the big divide that's happening, because I feel there's a larger divide now. It's more of a psychological, aside from it being uprising on certain things, it's becoming the psychological divide in terms of identity politics and racial barriers that are being put on there. Like if you're not African American or Afro, represent only as Afro, then that doesn't mean anything. And I think Latinos, and Afro Latinos and just Latinos in general, we need to really stick together. That was always my motto, because Latinos, we have colorism and all this stuff amongst that. So what I see now is in these kids is they want leaders. They need leaders that can lead from a place of authenticity and fearless, meaning, listen, it wasn't easy. Like I'm just sharing with you all the stuff that happened, but there was many times that I cried and I went home and it was difficult and challenges and, just letdowns. I mean, a lot of things happened, but I had somebody in my corner that was constantly, and still to this day, God bless, he's still with me. My husband and I are still together, that has always had integrity and ethics about, he's Italian Irish. I didn't see color in him. He didn't see color in me. Everybody else saw a problem. And we come from a place of, when you're from Brooklyn, you come from a place where you're like a little warrior. When you come from the Bronx, same thing. My cousins from the Bronx, they're like that. They're like,
East New York. I was Van Dyke Projects where I grew up.
Come on, you know what I mean? It's like we know how to survive, right? So when you grow up with that street mentality, and you never forget that. You never forget the code from the street. So that what I'm seeing now is that these kids were not exposed to that. These kids a lot of them missed out on that. They missed out on that part of that era where these trailblazers kicked ass to make it, and that they didn't give up, right?
Because, and they knew they had to work hard for it because nothing was fucking owed to them. You know, and nothing was
given to them on a plate.
You're not owed anything.
To work or research.
You earned everything.
Yes. And that's a difference. And the thing is, and I said, well, you know what? Roll up your sleeves. So you're in the middle of the pandemic. Figure something else out, because this is not going to get easy. And when it comes back, guess what? All the 2-3 million artists that were working that are now out of work, you're going to have to compete against them. So the shit's going to get real. That means you're really going to have to work on your craft and your mindset to be focused as a laser focus and not let anything stop you. But at the same time, as a Latino, the ones that I've been talking about, please know that this is your opportunity to represent, not by what you say, but what you do. Back it up with doing, because that to me is where change happens. When we have enough of us being able to come together and support and truly follow through with those things, we will then be able to take a real step.
Genuinely support, because a lot of people
are opportunists and
I want to help this person because he's going to give me this. And there's a lot of that. But if you find your core of people that you work with and it's genuine and true, stick together. I mean, I always say too, I always use this example. When I was taking classes at UCB, the improv over there, you know, the white people were united together. Like they all had this system of like, well, we're all gonna grind it out, we're all gonna do this. And it was, to me, from the outside looking, it seemed genuine enough. Well, I want to work on your show. I just want to learn. I just want to be around it, you know. And hopefully one day when you guys go on and have the TV shows, you look out. And they would do. They always went back to those same UCB schools where I felt like people of color, there's different agendas, you know, and I felt like we're all crabs in a barrel, you know, pulling each other down. And I get it. We all want to go to the promised land, but success is very different from for different people. And you really have to ask yourself, why are you doing this? You know, why? Is it coming from a true source, a place that this is what you love and think about? And it's not about betraying the other person, your right-hand man, or is it about the money, you know? Because all you need to decide for all that. If it's coming from, like how you said, if it's coming from, this is what I love doing, and at the end of the day, you know, this is what I feel. It's more
than just what you love doing too. Like you said, you love what you do. You always loved and you knew what you wanted to do, but you also saw your purpose to give back to your community. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To give back to the younger generation. So there's more to it. There's more of
there's more to it. And I told him, I said, you know what? The world was saying no to me, and I had people believe in me for me to be able to turn those no's into a yes. Right? I knew. God, there's so many people that don't know, but I knew what I wanted to do. That it wasn't like the other way around, like I had to discover my purpose. No, I knew really young, and then along the way, it was being pulled away from me and diminished because of the exterior, all of the other stuff that has nothing to do with individuality and talent. And that's what I try to instill in them. You're beautiful just the way you are, but then you have to back it up with really following through. What is it that you want to do? What is it that you want to accomplish? And then work towards it. It's work. It's not, this is not, you know, nobody gives it to you. There's some people that do have that, right? And we know that. But now in today's time, the jiggy's up. There's no more talking about what they're going to say. That they don't have an opportunity. Nobody can say that now. Because the jiggy's up. Right?
You know what I understand? This I know especially I feel like in the past 2 years, we've been getting more layers to Latinos. Like now it's Afro Latino, now it's Latino, then it's like Latinx, and I'm like, I remember I gotta ask a question. So you're put up the Latinx. I was like, what the fuck is Latin? I'm not an X-Men. Like I'm fucking Dominican and Puerto Rican. I don't know what is Latinx. Like, and I was like, oh, that's the generation that's coming up now. I'm like, I'm Dominican, Puerto Rican. I've been like that for 33 years. I don't know anything about Latinx. I don't know who created it. So
there's a lot of like many names and titles that I'm just like, oh my god.
Yeah, but it's a new generation that they want to find their identity. Like you think about, they want to find their identity. Like the Latinx community is encompassing all of the younger generation Latinos and the LGBT Latinos. And now when the uprising happened, the Afro Latino got thrown into the mix. So you have like myself and Rosie Perez who come from that era. And Rosie, she doesn't speak about that. She's like, we're Latinos. We understand that as there's colorism. Yeah. But if we stop to focus on the colorism, we will not get to where we need to get to. Then you have the younger generation now who wants to, they're identifying and they're putting that fist up in the air going, I'm Afro-Latino. And I'm going, you're right, you're Afro-Latino. Embrace it. Look at me. I embrace my hair. I do all of that. But in doing that, you also have to know that by saying only that, then you're no better than whoever else is doing it on the other side. Right. We're no better. We're not going to be, but if you celebrate it, because I know, right? I'm a Black, Hispanic, Latina woman from Brooklyn, right? From Puerto Rican, Dominican heritage. I know that. And I have 30 years of experience plus in the industry. So when I work, I use my experience and the things that I need to do in there. When I celebrate my heritage, I celebrate my heritage.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
If I have to celebrate my gender, celebrate my women.
Right.
But am I going to be working against each other? Nothing.
I feel like it should be. There should be a when to announce it.
Exactly.
You know, but if you move forward together as Latinos, it's powerful. But now when you start segregating us into different layers and there's different fights and with each other again, is creating more of a chaos. You know, so I feel like use it because you have it in your blood already. Use it when it calls to when it fits to use it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that, and that's what I was talking about, the divide. I think it's really, we're at a time now where we need to educate and really have like what you're doing with the podcast, these discussions, and tackle it, because the thing is that you have the African Americans that are now really demanding their reparation and their due, and they're getting it. You see that. Look what happened. Everything that they did in order to be able to get the president to the White House, right? So, but at the same time, Latinos are being left behind in a way because we're not united enough to start asking and doing the right things. My thing is that even though I'm from Brooklyn, I'm from the hood, and I can hang with anybody, but I educate myself in areas so that I'm able to be in those rooms to fight the battles that I need to fight, or to stand up and represent what I need to represent. And if I don't know it, I go do my homework so that I'm able to move the needle forward, not backwards, right? And I think that's what we need more of that. We need more of from the grassroots on up, that what you're doing, what Emilio's doing, what I'm doing, that it doesn't matter where you're at, but that where you're at, like I didn't know I was gonna, I mean, I knew I wanted to do it, but who knows if I was going to make it? I couldn't tell you that. I said it like I was confident. I was like, you know, that's my younger self was like, wait a minute, flipping my hair. But I didn't know whether or not I was going to actually, you know, get there. But what got me there was the hard work, persistence, not giving up. Not giving up when it got dirty, when it got ugly, when people were shoving and closing the door on me. I didn't stop. I would go home, clean myself up, and come back again, and staying in the game. And I think it's okay.
And it's okay to fucking cry and go through it. I mean, it's part of a human emotion, but you hit on it. It's like, don't give up. It's all part of this process and journey for you to be there. You know what I'm saying? No one said it's going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. And I really hope that people understand that and get that, right? Because if something doesn't click within you to know why you're doing this and understanding the trials and tribulations and challenges, there's a lot of people who are still going through it but miserable, you know, and like their spirit is very low because they're doing it for the wrong reasons, and they did it for the wrong reasons for so many years that they're not even bothering to change their ways anymore because it just keeps going over their head, which is a dangerous.
Well, some people are not even exposed to it either. I think, you know. I don't even think some people are exposed to stuff. You know, I feel like that's something else too. Like over the summer, like during the pandemic, when I got so depressed and down, I turned it around and I started to, you know, like my union, the Society of Directors and Choreographers, called me to run for an executive seat on the board, right? And normally I wouldn't be able to do that because I was always working. I said, yeah, I'll run. And then it started to crystallize, I could use this opportunity to really amplify my voice and make changes to the bylaws and the best practices, and talk about how racism has been permeated, how I can contribute to moving the needle forward in a way that can improve for the next generation of directors and choreographers. So I did it. And then at the same time, these Latinx young men that I had run into, one was Cedric Leyba Jr. and the other one is Pierre Gonzalez, who was a lead in Hamilton. You know, obviously the pandemic, everything stopped. We ran into each other and we decided to work together. And I said, I want to create something that's called Artists Collaborating Together. It's called ACT, because I believe in action, you know? And that's how I put that together with them. And the first thing that we talked about was Afro-Latino. We decided to launch it during Latino Heritage Month, and we said we're going to celebrate for 30 days all the Afro-Latinos. Let's talk about every single Afro-Latino, but here's what I want to do. I also want to school you on how to take action in your local place politically. Get activated by understanding what it means to educate yourself or your family members on how to get involved in the grassroots level. You want to make change happen? This is where the change happens. So we, you know, and I said, we'll get some celebrities to come on, and that you can ask them questions if you want, but that it's about seeing all of it so that you're not going in one direction only. You need to open up your horizon and understand that through all of us working together, but also educating each other and supporting each other, that they're Latinx. They're the Latinx. I supported that. I'm Latina. I was like, okay. I'm not Latinx. I'm Latina. You're Latinx. Okay, bye. Right? We're gonna meet in the middle here. But then all of a sudden now they're listening, right? So I think it's having those things. It's like, how can we
being aware?
Being aware. We have to. I think we need to. I think more than ever, I'm begging Latinos to do that, to really come together, because it's up to us, the generation that's here now, to really set the table for the rest of the generation. We're at a critical point. We're getting left behind. We really are. That's how I feel. I feel like we're getting left behind when we shouldn't get left behind. You know, we should have been advancing. If you think about it, Latinos were here from way before all of us were born.
Right? You know, to be honest, you're absolutely right, because a lot of these, like Issa Rae and her own production companies, and her putting these black stories on HBO. You know, you got Kevin Hart, you got this other guy named
Shonda Rhimes.
Yes. You got so many of them that, you know, been doing their own thing, also putting other people on the map as well, working together, but they're paving their own lane, right? You know, where it's no longer like, oh, you do black movies. No, it's like, we do movies. And we just happen to be a person of color doing movies, and we're a force to be reckoned with. And I think that's the same thing that Latinos should have been there already. You know what I'm saying? We should have been I don't know what was happening, in the sense, people, maybe those Latinos celebrities that did have that power, why didn't they pass it down or create something? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is the power that we have within ourselves? What are we using it to achieve something together? And I think we need to be more aware of that. You don't have to be the biggest celebrity, but if you do have some type of celebrity power, then you should have a responsibility to also pass that down, and also create networks for other Latinos that also have that high status and low status, because the more of us also creates more opportunities to you as well.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, 100%. I agree with you, and I also think that it's when I started to work on the other side of the table, I understood where power was, because now I'm there with the producers and the other directors and the people of power, making decisions about who we're going to hire. And I think more of that is what we need to see. We need to see more Latino production companies, directors, playwrights, writers, you know, everybody, like what you did. You know, I mean, you paved your way for yourself. You wrote your own material. You know, I worked with John Leguizamo back in the, back in the 90s, we became friends and worked with him for a long time. And he did that too. He was a pioneer, you know, that was setting the template for what all the Latinos can do.
He was one of my inspirations, of course. Well, I didn't know a lot of, at that time, I didn't know a lot of Latino playwrights. I saw someone of my heritage, and I was like, oh, I was already loving the acting, but I was like, oh, I could create my own story and perform it on stage. That put that plug. That's what sparked in me.
That's right.
I went on and did that, and I shared that information with other people as well. And I just kept on doing it. But we need more representation. We need more of that. And knowing that you are capable to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely. And that's what's important, is like what you have at the time that you actually utilize it. My friend Justina Machado, who was the actress that played the lead in One Day at a Time, right? Yeah. With Rita Moreno. She went on Dancing with the Stars. And I'll never forget, because she called me before to ask, like, hey, what do you think? And I said, I think it would be amazing, because you're a triple threat, that the world doesn't know that you're a real triple threat, that you could sing, dance, and act. What an amazing opportunity for you to represent not only yourself as in the dance community, but also to show everybody what it is to be a true full-figured Latina and have and with pride, because that's who she is, And it was wonderful to see that, and how she kept saying that in everywhere that she went. I was so proud of her, because I went, that's how you use your platform. That's what you do. And you don't scream it by putting somebody else down. She just did it by doing. And then to see her excel, every week, that she got better and better and better and better as a dancer, and at the same time driving that message home. Representation matters. Representation matters. I'm so proud to be a Latina. My roots, my this, my that, my roots. My husband's coming in. So, you know what I mean? So that was like, you know, that was really exciting to see, because during the pandemic, everybody was home. Yeah. How many people winded up learning about our culture and our music because she was on that network? Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. It doesn't matter. She goes Dancing with the Stars. I'm like, it doesn't matter where you at. It's the platform. You got it, then you bring the realness to it. Who cares? You know, who cares? There's so many people that are going to reach out to you because you had the guts to go there and do what you did. Yeah. And so we need more of that. And I think that it is happening a little bit. I'm hoping that we can do that here in the East Coast, you know, meaning like in like Bronx, Brooklyn, Manhattan. I would love to see that, because that used to be what we used to have. You know, we used to go to, you know, variety places. I mean, I know now it's kind of hard. We have to do it on Zoom, but there was places that you can congregate to create, you know, and be inspired by one another. And I think it's finding that new way of how to do it in today's time.
So we're going to move forward to a segment called Rapid Fire. And these are like 4 questions that we have. Okay. Whatever comes to mind, doesn't have to be this long piece. That's why it's called Rapid Fire. But whatever comes to mind is when the moment you hear these 4 questions.
So the first question is, what has been your biggest disappointment?
Oh, that's hard. What has been my biggest disappointment? Not having babies.
Okay.
Not having children.
All right. Okay. All right. We got that. Thank you. What single thing would improve the quality of your life? Money is not an option in here. So it could be something that's like, I don't know, maybe a hair conditioner that you want to try out. I don't know. But but what is one single thing would you improve the quality of your life?
Would improve the quality of my life? Being free to do whatever it is that I want. My husband said, eat better.
That's a good one.
I'm doing a podcast, baby, and people are going to hear this. Okay.
The third question. The third question is, what do you consider your greatest achievement?
What do I consider my greatest achievement? Marrying my husband. It is. And yeah, that's on a personal. But as far as work, never compromising. Never compromising. Being true to myself.
And the last one is, what is the most important lesson life has taught you? What is the most important lesson life has taught you?
Life has taught me that the only way to live on this earth is by tapping into your true sense of self and following your own compass.